Hello and welcome back to our channel. Today, we have a major update concerning the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, that could affect millions of Americans. There's been a lot of talk and some serious proposals about fundamentally changing how this program works, and we're here to break down what's happening, what it could mean for you, and what the future might hold. So, grab a seat and let's get right into this important news. First, let's set the stage. SNAP, which many people still know as food stamps, is the largest federal program aimed at fighting hunger in the United States. It provides food purchasing assistance for low and no-income people living in the U.S. It's a lifeline that helps families put food on the table, supports local economies, and ensures children get the nutrition they need to grow and learn. For decades, this program has been a cornerstone of the nation's social safety net. Now, there are significant discussions underway about a complete overhaul of SNAP. This isn't just about minor tweaks or adjustments to benefit amounts. We're talking about a potential deconstruction of the program as we know it. The conversation is being driven by various policy groups and figures, including those associated with the America First Policy Institute, led by Brooke Rollins, who previously served in the White House. The core idea behind these proposals is to rethink the entire structure of federal assistance. So, what does deconstructing SNAP actually mean? The proposals are complex, but they generally revolve around a few key ideas. One of the biggest changes being discussed is shifting more control and responsibility for the program from the federal government to individual states. This is often referred to as devolution. Proponents argue that states are better equipped to understand the unique needs of their residents and can design more effective, localized programs. They believe this could lead to more innovation and efficiency, allowing states to tailor assistance to their specific populations and economic conditions. Under this model, instead of the USDA overseeing a largely uniform national program, states would receive block grants. A block grant is a fixed amount of money from the federal government that a state can use for a specific purpose, in this case, food assistance. The state would then have broad flexibility in how they spend that money. They could decide who is eligible, what the benefit levels are, and what kind of work requirements to implement. The argument is that this would reduce federal bureaucracy and give states the freedom to experiment with new approaches to combating poverty and encouraging self-sufficiency. For example, a state might choose to integrate its food assistance program with job training services, child care support, or transportation aid, creating a more holistic system to help people get back on their feet. Proponents like Brooke Rollins and her Policy Institute suggest that this kind of flexibility could lead to better outcomes, moving people from dependency to independence more quickly. They often point to the welfare reforms of the 1990s as a model, which also used block grants and gave states more control over cash assistance programs. The goal, they say, is not just to provide a safety net, but to provide a springboard to opportunity. However, this proposed shift is also raising major concerns among advocates for the poor and many policy experts. One of the primary worries is that block grants could lead to significant cuts in funding over time. Unlike the current SNAP structure, where funding automatically expands to meet increased need, like during a recession when more people are unemployed, block grants are typically fixed. If a state experiences an economic downturn and more people need help, a fixed grant might not be enough to cover everyone. This could force states to make difficult choices, like cutting benefit amounts, tightening eligibility rules, or creating waiting lists for assistance. Critics argue that this could weaken the program's ability to act as an automatic economic stabilizer. When the economy is weak, SNAP currently pumps money directly into local economies as more people qualify and spend their benefits at grocery stores. This supports jobs and businesses when they need it most. With fixed block grants, that stabilizing effect could be diminished. There's also the concern that it could create a race to the bottom, where states might be incentivized to cut benefits to save money, leading to a patchwork of vastly different and potentially inadequate programs across the country. Imagine living in a state that decides to implement very strict work requirements or lower benefit amounts compared to its neighbor. Your access to food assistance would depend entirely on your zip code. This could create significant disparities and inequalities. Advocacy groups like the Food Research and Action Center have warned that such changes could lead to millions of people losing their benefits, increasing hunger and poverty, especially among the most vulnerable populations like children, the elderly, and people with disabilities. Another part of the proposed deconstruction involves rethinking the types of food that can be purchased with SNAP benefits. Currently, SNAP recipients can buy most food items at the grocery store, with some exceptions like hot foods, alcohol, and non-food items. The new proposals might introduce stricter limitations on what is considered a healthy or allowable food. The idea is to encourage healthier eating habits and potentially lower long-term healthcare costs. The USDA might be tasked with creating a more restrictive list of approved foods. On the surface, promoting healthy eating sounds like a great idea. However, this is also a very controversial proposal. Critics argue that it would be paternalistic and stigmatizing to dictate what low-income families can and cannot buy. They point out that what is healthy can be subjective and culturally specific. Furthermore, implementing such restrictions would be a logistical nightmare for grocery stores, requiring them to recategorize thousands of products. It could also create confusion and frustration for shoppers. Many argue that education and incentives for healthy eating are more effective than restrictions. Plus, families on a tight budget are already trying to stretch every dollar, and these restrictions could make it even harder to plan and prepare meals, especially for those with limited access to stores with a wide variety of fresh produce. So, where do things stand now? These are still proposals and ideas being debated in policy circles. Nothing has been passed into law. However, with the political landscape constantly shifting, these conversations are gaining traction and could very well become central to future legislative debates about the social safety net. It's a classic debate between two different philosophies of government. One side emphasizes federal responsibility and a uniform standard of support for all citizens, while the other champions state flexibility, local control, and personal responsibility. The future of SNAP could head in a few different directions. We could see a continuation of the current system with minor adjustments. Or we could see a move towards a block grant system, giving states more authority. It's also possible we could see a hybrid model, where states are given more flexibility, but with some federal guardrails in place to ensure a minimum level of support. The outcome will depend on the political climate, the results of future elections, and the advocacy efforts of groups on all sides of the issue. It is crucial for everyone who relies on SNAP or who cares about the issue of hunger in America to stay informed. These are not just abstract policy debates. They have real-world consequences for millions of families. Understanding the proposals, the potential impacts, and the arguments on both sides is the first step. You can follow news from reliable sources, check the websites of organizations like the USDA, the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, or the America First Policy Institute to read their reports and proposals directly. Engaging with your elected officials is also a powerful way to make your voice heard. Let your representatives in Congress know what you think about these potential changes. Whether you support more state control or want to protect the current federal structure, your perspective matters. We will continue to monitor this situation closely and bring you any new developments as they happen. The conversation around the future of SNAP is one of the most important domestic policy debates of our time, and its outcome will shape the lives of millions for years to come. Make sure you are subscribed to our channel and have notifications turned on so you don't miss any of our updates on this and other important topics. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We know this is a lot of information to take in, but it's vital to be aware of what's being discussed. Please share this video with anyone you think might find it useful. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.